I think I'm live. Can everyone hear me? Or maybe not everyone, but whoever's here. I just wait for that first comment, which I'm having trouble reading anyway. So Raquel is going to be answering comments for me. You might have even expected to see Raquel. A couple things. I was supposed to go live yesterday, but I'm sick and my dad is in the hospital. So I'm a little bit scattered. Not terrible. I think I'll be able to get through this pretty well. And I'm really excited actually to share a lot of this intel. Apologies for everyone who's tired of hearing the word intel, but choose your best synonym. Who here is having their stuff regularly this year churned up? Like, you think you've gotten pretty far on your spiritual path, you've learned certain truths and whatnot, and now you're finding yourself triggered more frequently or maybe surprisingly about certain things. I just want to say that's a blessing. It really is, because anything that gets exposed before 2027 is going to be valuable. The universe loves to test us to make sure we truly get the lessons that we are here to learn and that we think we've already learned. So we get that final test, that threshold guardian that's going to be, oh, you think you learned that already, huh? Well, let's provide some circumstances and see how you react. So it gets tough, especially if you have a lot of things. Let's talk about the emotional center, unconscious, for instance. So sometimes you don't see where you're headed if you're defined emotionally, where your wave is headed, and you can be taken by surprise and triggered into a non-lucid state, triggered into unconsciousness. And then it becomes about how quickly can you get back to consciousness. And where we're moving in 2027 is so fantastical that it's worth talking about. I just put this first slide up because this is me and what I'm working with, a lot of individuality. So I'm stepping into 2027 like, yay. I feel like, at least on paper, I'm built for it and been feeling it. And let's get into it. So as you can see, I have the 55, which we're going to talk about today, among other things. And part of that is going to be talking about how the solar plexus is going to be coming online, finished with beta testing, now full-fledged awareness center, and what that could mean, what I feel it means, and what it could thrust us into. And part of it is all the triggering, is all the stuff that's coming up to be looked at that you thought was settled. And it's giving you a chance, kind of like while you're in the green room, to get your stuff in order, because as soon as 2027 comes, like February 2027 onward, it's the curtains are going to lift, and you're going to see some pretty chaotic stuff from the people who haven't dealt with their stuff. So let's move on. I'm also using a program. I don't know if these slides are going to work, but bear with me, please. I think you'll get a lot out of this, even beyond what I talk about. So let's start with this. We do all have a shadow. Okay. And this part of us that, well, I don't want to read the slide. You can read it yourself. But basically, we're all walking around with stuff that sometimes is on display. You know, if someone doesn't have any emotional intelligence whatsoever, plenty of people like that, myself included at times, sad to admit. But it's all about refining yourself better and better, to know yourself better and better, to catch yourself. The most important is to catch yourself so you know where you are in this psychic emotional real estate, so that when you are unconscious, there are clues that can trigger you back into consciousness. So here we all have a shadow we carry. Shadow's not bad. Shadow and darkness, not the same thing. Let's just make sure we understand that. Shadow is a part of yourself. We are a duality, light and dark. And the shadow is the source of creativity. Your subconscious mind falls into a lot of that. There's a healthy application of your shadow and a stupid one. Sorry for saying I'm sick. When 2027 rolls around, we're going to have really no, the Wizard of Oz is going to be revealed. There's no behind the curtain kind of thing. And let me move on to the next slide, which is a quote from Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular. And because it's not popular, a lot of people are going to be looking at their stuff for the first time when it's on display for everyone. Because that stuff is not going to be hidden once the solar plexus becomes conscious, aware. It's going to be a different ball game, and people are going to flip their lids. Just for a moment, consider the chaos of when the solar plexus becomes fully conscious. Another quote, a thought is the mind's way of rationalizing a feeling. Well, the Ajna, which was our chief CEO of the Cross of Planning, where we're leaving the Cross of Planning, going into the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix, aka the era of the individual. We're moving away from the tribe and the collective frameworks, the institutions, the ties that bind, and moving into a different thing. Sorry, getting a little jumbled here. I want to talk about the Ajna now being a sort of demoted CEO of how things are going to work, and that more so coming online with the solar plexus. You know, before, if you have a defined solar plexus, then you learn that the stories that your mind says about why you're not happy, let's say when you're in a down wave, it's not about you're not happy because of what Tina said or what Judy did or about any circumstance that your mind wants to rationalize this feeling and give you a reason. It's not about the reasons. But when the solar plexus was unconscious, we just have this vague feeling and it's looking for an answer because the mind doesn't like things to be unsettled. So it will give you something so that you stop chewing on it and go, that's why. And it's very relieving to have an answer, even if it's the wrong one, which it is in the case of the solar plexus. So what's happening? Well, that translation of a vague feeling is being replaced by a more streamlined connection and It's being replaced by something called spirit consciousness or spirit detection. That feeling itself will be conscious. It doesn't need the mind to be a middleman to translate what this is. It'll be known and then some. And what does that exactly mean? Let's discuss that. So, pardon me, sniffing and whatnot. Man, I'm okay with it if you are. So there's a lot of things that, and I might go all over the place because I tend to do that. I have one gate one, if any. And so I'm nonlinear. And what can I say here? Well, the gate 55, it's already individual and it's already super sensitive to what, to words, to tone. So what's going to happen when that becomes so dominant, even more dominant than the ajna? But what's the ajna attached to? Strategy, the way of processing information. I'm going to say this, I'm going to get this result. Oh, you should do this because this will happen then. What's going to happen is authenticity is going to become the core value. It's going to be growingly impossible to fake emotional honesty, integrity, agenda. It's all going to be on display. And as a result, our words are no longer going to be able to obscure our vibe. So what does that mean? That means you will not be able to get away with like snake oil salesman. You can't, the silver tongue will no longer be effective. It'll be like a glass hammer, as I've said in my last video on 2027. It won't be effective anymore. The vibe, the authenticity, the agenda, the integrity of the speaker will become the message itself. You won't be able to, you won't even hear the message. Like just imagine someone's talking to you and you just get the vibe corrupt. I mean, how much talking is going to be required for you? It's going to be immediate. Sorry. I can tell that I'm not articulating as well as I'd like to. So let me just take a pause for a second and collect myself. Okay. In addition to the vibe, our whole definition of abundance, which is tied to gate 55, is going to be different. Why? Because maybe I'm jumping the gun by discussing this now and not later, but because the tribe is no longer going to have these social contracts, the glue that kept the tribe together, because that's no longer going to be sticky, and the ego, which has to do with the material plane, and the ego is the seat of the tribe. All of the channels that come out, all of the gates rather, that come out of the ego are tribal, except for the 2551, which is the individual, the one who can mutate the tribe. But all of these considerations of what abundance is going to be heavily redefined. And it's going to be tied to one's alignment to their emotional truth and their purpose. There's going to be a different incentive structure. So our whole idea of of what it means to be materially successful is going to be heavily affected by our spiritual considerations. Moving on. So as individuality rises, the structures, the institutions of the tribe and the collective are going to be unreliable. They're going to continue to deteriorate, and they're going to begin to crumble. So the glue that I mentioned before, that held people together, not just nationality is more collective oriented, but that too is going to start being redefined. Religion, political parties, all the glue that held people together based on their affiliations is going to lose its stickiness. And so just think of all of the things that people have put on hold because of tribal considerations. Think of all the relationships that the tribe wouldn't agree with, or all the pursuits of like your personal passions, your purpose, your unique purpose. Think of how many things that got backburnered because of the fact that they didn't quite fit in with the tribe, and you didn't want to make waves, didn't want to be ostracized, so you kept yourself in that box because you didn't want to lose that support. So what's going to happen? The time that people have shelved their purpose for the good of the tribe or dictated by the tribe is done. That's going to you're not going to clock it as much. It's not going to like just disappear as I don't know what that word means. It's just going to be, it's not going to have the hooks because the whole paradigm changes. And the things that you consider, your heads up display, the things that you're clocking, that's not going to be top dog. And it's not going to be enough to hold you back. Further, think about all the relationships, marriages or otherwise, that were created for the good of the tribe, whether they're arranged marriages, whether they were just simply because of shared beliefs. And that's why we're together. These are all going to be recalibrated. It's not necessarily that you're going to ditch them, but there's going to have to be something else keeping you together, because that ain't it. That's not enough anymore. And, this is the theme. How it actually translates and how it works out in your individual life is going to be obviously different. This is just the general description of what this could look like. It's going to be, these things are going to break down. The glue that keeps these things together is going to be not there. So how that translates into your life will depend on those relationships. And it's going to force a reevaluation of those relationships. So what else? As I mentioned, religion, your connection to spirit. This is gate 55. One second. So you're going to have a more, not that you don't already, but things are going to become more personal. Your personal relationship to God, your personal relationship with Source. I guess that would be more Gnostic in the past, but maybe not exactly that definition. But the more mainstream definition is going to be no middleman, no go-between, and very personal, individual to you. The dictates of your religion or your tribe or that framework is going to lose its glue. Does that mean you're going to be a heretic, like an apostate, or you're going to ditch your religion? No. It means that if you have a personal relationship with that religion or those aspects, that can continue, of course. But if you're just in it and because that's the way you were raised and that's the way it's done, and you're in it because you don't want grandma and grandpa to be disappointed, that's not going to do it. You're just that hook, be it guilt, be it any other consideration that does not speak to your truth, your individual connection to it, is not going to hold you there. So all of these things, it's conceptual, right? We're not there yet. So how that ends up translating for you is going to be very personal. And you may not know, right, until you are there, which one of your beliefs is going to be subject to reevaluation and which ones aren't. Of course, the ones that you truly feel a deep connection with, you'll likely still be connected to, I presume. I don't know. But you may also, when everything else changes, your perspective will change. So it's like trying to figure out, for instance, the idea of being enlightened, for instance. This is quite a segue. Everyone wants to be enlightened, right? I mean, it's a popular concept. What people don't really consider is the aspect of you that's going to be enlightened ain't you. What you identify as you is the glove that gets taken off, and it's just the hand that goes on. And so the thing that wants enlightenment isn't the thing that gets enlightened. So there's a whole trick that goes on with the mind. The mind, that's why human design and the mind don't quite get along, because the mind knows that human design in a big way spells its destruction, right? It's not going to participate in its own extinction. You might think it will, and you might think you know what human design is, but many people are not embodying human design. They think they are, just like people in many ways aren't embodying the spiritual truths that they've acquired on their journey. And as such, these people, me too, are being triggered and having our stuff turned up because we're being tested to what we think we know versus what we know, where we're solid, where we're sovereign. And that's why this time is the testing ground before 2027. Celebrate your shit getting stirred up, because it gives you an opportunity to go, oh, I ain't there yet. Thank you. Okay. It's hard to do in the moment when you're pissed or you're triggered or whatever's happening. But maybe when things calm down, see the value in it, right? See the value in it. And this comes to human design too. All the human design concepts of, okay, what's like my motivation? And can I catch myself when I'm in transference? Am I letting my mind forgive myself too easily and let myself off the hook when I'm, oh, it's okay? You cannot phone human design in. There's no level you get to where you can just, you reach a finish line. As you grow, your lessons grow. You will still need to show up, and you'll still need to be mindful of what you already think you graduated from. And don't be so quick to congratulate yourself, because this is what life is. So it's all very helpful. It's all for you. Anyway, so let's talk about this for a second. I mentioned that all the relationships that you have will need to, that whatever held together by tribal glue is going to be either recalibrated, renegotiated, or released. When it comes to your unique purpose, whatever stopped you because mom and dad didn't think your being a Reiki master was a worthy pursuit, or you becoming an artist instead of following in the family's family business, doing carpentry or whatever, all of those things that were stopping you before, again, for tribal considerations, whether it was your folks, whether it was where you were living. Just the movie Footloose came into my mind, where, you know, they just want to dance, but you cannot dance in Footloose. Anyway, no one's going to stop you from dancing now. No one, it just is not going to be as effective as it was. Kind of like, I would imagine, another metaphor of, you know, the how the circuses, the bastards, would keep elephants from, you know, walking away when they're little. They would tie this little rope to their ankle and tie it to a fence, and so they learn to associate that with it has a lot more strength after they've outgrown the strength. I can't even say it. I think you already know what I'm talking about. The strength of the bond is the illusion, let's say, of that bond strength is gone. So it ain't going to hold you back, and it's important it doesn't, for reasons we'll go into, or I'll go into, and we'll talk about. Let's move on to the next slide and talk more specifically about Gate 55 and the material change there. I had mentioned that it's heavily tied to spirit consciousness, and if I already discussed this, what you do for a living, I guess we'll call it, for material gain, to take care of your material needs, is going to change because the ego center is going to change. And our definition of abundance is not going to be tied to those tribal considerations of what makes your parents proud of you, of what's a worthy pursuit based on your tribe, what's considered even taboo for your religion, maybe, using the Reiki example. So there's going to be a major shift when it comes to those sorts of considerations. What are some other changes? Gate 30. Now, Gate 30 has to do with the desire for experience for experience sake, and that's part of the human experiential way, which is also changing. Now, the human experiential way of doing something for the experience, and just think about for a second all of the breakthroughs that occurred during this process, that the experiential way, since 1615. Just think of like all the things, including flight, you know, and all the things that we benefited from these individual breakthroughs and discoveries. All the discoveries, all the advancement, all the things that helped the collective, that made us, that helped form the institutions, that helped build the collective's power base, all the structures of grade school, high school, college, I can't even think of words now, sorry. But getting your master's degree, your doctorate, all the levels, the hierarchy of you do this, and then you get to go here, and then you get to go here, and then all the things in between, developing the institution. You have banks, you have schools, marriages, that's another institution, but not quite here. Anyway, fill in the blank. Just imagine all of these things. Now, understand that all of the experience now is going to shift without the collective being the main benefactor of the discoveries. It's not going to be shared. Collective is sharing. That's a keynote for the collective. You gain this knowledge, you learn this lesson, and then under certain criteria, then that becomes part of your service in sharing that information for the greater good of the collective. For the, there's the individual, there's the tribe, and then I'm using three fingers, I'm just more than one, the tribe, and then the collective. So the collective is everyone, doesn't care about the tribal concerns. It's for everyone, ignoring the tribe. The tribe just cares about the tribe. F everyone else. And you need to do this, or you get ostracized, or there's rules and you can't do that. And you have to do this, and you have to do it this way, and all that. So that's all going. So the experiential way is going to be different. It's going to be like the individualized experiential way. So what does that mean? Well, people are now going to be steered towards their unique purpose, which was off, in the back burner before. So think about all the reasons people fought living their purpose for tribal considerations, no longer having that restraint. And that's going to be in your face. And the fates come into place, because when you fight that, or if you continue to fight that, there's no back burner. It's going to turn into an obsession. So fighting it fuels it even further. It's going to create havoc. It's about going with the individual flow. And do I even know what that means? Do I know if there's even going to be such a thing as fighting it anymore? I don't know if you're going to even clock some of these things. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a switch that gets flipped from off to on. I personally feel it's going to be more of a dimmer that goes on and increasing intensity. I do think that everyone's shit is going to be on display, and those people who have not looked at their stuff, who have not done any work on themselves, haven't looked at it, haven't dealt with it, are hiding it, are burying it. You're already seeing part of it. You're already seeing people slipping on banana peel after banana peel on their own. People that you've respected, possibly loved, banana peeling their shit in grand display left and right. So much that it's like, oh shit, him too, her too. Oh wow. And that's now. In the future, it's going to be even worse for them, and for the masses who haven't looked at their stuff. Presuming that you're listening to this, you're not that. Now you are looking at your stuff, but let's put it this way. Having looked at your stuff, I'm talking about where you're hateful, where your darkness is, where you're prejudiced, not just about other races, but anything. Where do you hold judgment about the other, whatever the other is for you? Where are you unhealed? What trauma have you not looked at? All of your positions on stuff, all of that stuff, right? The things that you've gone to therapy for, all of the things that you've already worked on and towards, you're going to have a much more graceful experience of 2027. That awakening has the ability, or it's going to be more graceful. Let me just put it that way. For those who haven't looked at their stuff and haven't done the deep work, there's no more graceful awakening on the menu. It's just rude awakenings now for people, including yourself, for the things that you haven't yet learned or haven't yet reached, the things you thought you did, and are now being tested and triggered, and you know, all the places that you proxy your sense making to somebody else, all the places where you watch MSNBC or Fox News and are like, yeah, that guy, that's the story. And, or, you know, wherever you do something called burging. If you don't know what burging is, it's basking in reflected glory. That's the places where you associate your self-esteem, your sense of identity with the tribe. That's when you're the guy who goes, hey, yeah, you know, like if you're into the Raiders, yeah, we won on Sunday. You didn't win shit. You aren't the Raiders. You're a guy who's a fan of the Raiders. And when you attach your identity to this thing, that's the thing I'm talking about. That's basking in reflected glory. When you're like, we did it, when you didn't do anything, right? So all of these things are going to get increasingly uncomfortable. And I hope I'm making some kind of sense here. What did I say in the slide? Right. So you're no longer going to have that restraint. You're going to want to dial into who you are here to serve, because it's going to be without the tribe. Well, we'll get to this in a second, but without the tribe, the affiliations that you got from the tribe and the family and all the things, and as those fall away, you are going to be detecting quickly who naturally sees you, who naturally gets you, who you're going to be more attracted to your fractal, those you are here to serve, who have ears to hear you and eyes to see you, dialed into your purpose, what you're actually here for, who you're actually here for. And everyone who does not fit in that category is not going to be along for the long haul unless there's something else keeping you connected to them besides the friend circle. Because, oh, you've always been friends with them, friend circle, or the religion, or the blue team, red team, all of that stuff. What else does that mean? In that fractal, for the people who you are here for, who are actually more aligned to you because you have more in common, like-minded, healing minded, soul minded, fractal minded, whatever it is, those connections are going to take precedence. And those people may look quite a bit different than the people that you are connected to now. Perhaps you weren't even looking at them because they're for the other team based on whatever the tribal considerations were, whatever you either grew up in, or because of programming from conditioning, or wherever you proxied your sense making to someone else who knows better. You don't have time to think about it, so I'll just let that guy tell me what to think, kind of deal. All that's gone. And now the people who you're going to be connected with could look a lot different than what they look like now, because you're not connecting based on this other consideration. That consideration that was at the top of that structure, and I'm not saying everyone does this. This is like, of course, all of you, we have mixed friends from different, whatever. I'm saying the collective. I'm talking about the people who are not conscious right now. Okay. I'm talking about the collective who are, who you see on TV, who are rioting or this versus this and getting really stirred up and whipped into a frenzy. The people who are caught up in the narrative of somebody else, the narrative warfare, the unknown agenda of whoever's passing on that information that you are receiving in and allowing to calibrate you to feel a certain way. And that could even be the algorithm to some degree, whatever feeds your consciousness. But that stuff is going to be different. It's not going to hold as much. So now you're going to start looking at people differently. What does that mean? Maybe it's like you're not looking at religion. Maybe you're not looking at nationality or background. Now you're looking at, this is my neighbor. I can protect myself, but I'm going to protect you too. Or like we connect here. You're going to discover through frequency and integrity things that are deeper than the cover. So just like with the words that are no longer going to be the message, that it's going to be deeper in. So that coated candy shell of the words that are covering up someone's like selfish, manipulative agenda, you're just going to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop right away. Here it is. This guy's corrupt. I ain't listening to that. That whole candy shell is going to be gone. And so are your prejudices to a larger degree, or you're going to be confronting them a lot more, because you're going to get, wait a minute, because you're going to see through the surface, right? And what's the surface? Well, the ajna. The ajna is connected to judge a book by its cover. That's why when you're choosing a mate in human design, what you're attracted to ain't like necessarily what's good for you. And that's all based on the ajna. And so the ajna is demoted. Now you have the solar plexus. It's not like you're going to not have the ajna. And I haven't even mentioned the spleen, the other awareness center. I'm talking about this new thing right now coming online, and how it's going to blast the shit out of the collective, and people are going to be drowning in an emotional ocean, and you doing the work now and clocking these things ahead of time are going to have a head start. Is it going to be smooth sailing for you or me? No, but because you can sort of clock, oh, this is what's coming, and or some version of that, you can not be tugged underwater and perhaps able to throw a life preserver to the freaked out folks that are going to be totally aimless, because they're going to have to relearn how to be with other people. Because imagine everyone tagged with a scarlet letter. If you remember that story, everyone will have it who's unhealed, or it's going to be whatever letter it is, not that letter, but whatever letter that person is dealing with, that's unlooked at, unhealed stuff, that's going to be the letter that's going to be like bank. And you're not going to necessarily hear the words they say before you're clocking that. And it reminds me of, like, if you've seen the Black Mirror. In the Black Mirror, they have like this thing where the person is like, I don't want to hear from you anymore, mute. And when they mute the person, it puts this like blur over their face, and they speak like the Charlie Brown teacher. It's like, wah, wah, and they can't, their message doesn't come through. They're just seeing this big blur, and it's like, okay, blur. And everyone's just like, yeah, we can't hear you. We don't, we're not looking. That is probably, to some degree, a good metaphor for what's coming. So, like that Carl Jung quote that I said earlier, the darkness being conscious, that's probably pretty freaking effing accurate with what's happening. We're going to see all the unsightly stuff that people have been hiding, and all of the, what would you call it? All the spiritual ego, all of the people who are now selling something they don't actually have, making money selling something they don't actually have. And are not going to get away with it. So it's going to require radical honesty. Why? Because it has to. Because it's going to be the priority. You can't get away with anything else. So you're going to have to reevaluate your stuff. What am I able to do? Honestly, what can I sell with integrity that has value to this person? Because I'm not going to get away with selling them an empty box, because they'll see through the box, because the person selling is the box, and it's all, I think I communicated that already. So I hope this made sense. I hope I offered you something of value, and that you were able to see through my fevered dream, somewhat inarticulation of my knowing. I wish you guys a good journey, and I want to invite you to check out a new tool we have that's going to help you. It's the first step, but it's going to help a lot. I want you to experiment with it. It's a brand new tool, and it's in the description of this video or post, whatever it is. And it's an AI tool that's going to help you dial in further, and we have more coming, to your unique offering and an evaluation of where you are currently in your business, and some things that you should be clocking now and start contemplating, so that you can hit the ground running and more seamlessly transition into this new world, this new age, this new era of the individual, which is very exciting. We need it so much. It's going to change everything. And don't buy into the fear of what's coming. Don't just blindly go into the positivity either. I just be sort of agnostic about what's coming and anchor to your truth, and let that be the guiding force. But really dial into your truth, not someone else's truth. Really learn your chart, see who you're here for, see what you're here for, and anchor and align to that. That is your signal. That's what you're sending out, and that's what you're going to get a response to. If you're in your mind, in the fear stuff, in the other people's truth, you're going to get that. And that doesn't lead to you being fulfilled now or in the future. So now is the time. Now is the time to get your shit together, to look at the unhealed stuff, to look at who you're here for, to look at maybe pivoting. Maybe what you did and are finding it difficult to leave because you're good at what you do, but it's no longer fulfilling. You're not going to have the same result later. Okay. You're getting away with it now. You're really good, say, at selling this widget, right? Really good. It's soul deadening. It's not satisfying, but you're good at it. And it allows you to afford a certain lifestyle. That's not going to continue. Now is the time to think, what am I here for? What lights me up? What have I put in the back burner for X, Y, or Z reasons? And start moving that to the front burner and figuring out, okay, how do I figure out all the ways in which to make this work? Now is the time. So by 2027 rolling around, you're dialed in. Okay, so again, I hope this is helpful. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to go or thought I'd go. And that's it. I don't even know if there's questions because I can't see them. I hope they've been answered. I hope this has been satisfying for you. And I hope that it leads to your very successful fruition of your mission. Good journey. End stream.